Hello, and I'd like to spend a brief moment to discuss the subject of anarchy. Anarchy. When I used to hear about anarchy back in the UK when I was younger, I always pictured like some street punk with a bright red mohawk throwing a brick through a window. But anarchism actually is in itself is like it's a way of living which is kind of like a pacifist way of living. It's like it's not quite the way that it's actually portrayed in the media. Essentially, it's kind of it's to do with your state of mind, that the way that you actually kind of operate in the world. It requires you to not infringe upon the freedoms of others. Essentially, you let them do their shit, they let you do yours, kind of thing. It can function within government kind of structures purely because there's no place that's ever been like a pure anarchist state, because it requires that people do their own stuff, and let's face it, it's been a long time since any government hasn't decreed this to be slightly anti-social, let's just say, in the sense that because you're not specifically being threatened by force of violence to live a certain way. And by what I mean by that is if you were to break a law, right? Government writes a law. You don't pay a tax, yeah. Now you say, well, where's the threat of violence there? Well, if you don't pay your tax, somebody will actually show up at your door and remove you by force to incarcerate you, and that's eventually the final end of said action. So, by way, we're kind of like subject to the violence of government, whether you see it as an actual kind of like a metaphysical thing, or an actual true thing. It is the case. Okay, if you defy their laws for too long, and just tell them to go fuck themselves, in the end, they will make you their problem and come to sort you out in some manner of speaking. So essentially, anarchy is live and let live, and by in terms of that, you have to be okay with other people, what they do, even though it may offend your sensibilities in the way that they particularly live, because by defending freedom in any sense, you have to defend it for everyone else. So if somebody's doing something that you don't like, then you have to put up with it. It's not to say that you should let people get away with activity which hurts another, because that's different. It's you defend who needs to be defended, but you don't go out of your way to cause trouble. It's like in terms of an anarchy, the military doesn't really work in that way. Not saying that there's anything wrong with the military. Those who kind of put their lives on the line for king and country, or whatever kind of place you live in. The idea of the military per se isn't a bad thing. It's just the people on the top end of the thing which are the problem, really, because the soldier is in no way ever kind of responsible for the actual kind of problems of being in strange lands, kind of using violence to decree a law of someone who thinks that your petrol prices should be cheaper so they can actually make their people happy, kind of thing, So when it comes to anarchy, it's more of a sense of kind of freedom in the way that you are trying to be a person who lets people do what they want, and recognise that their freedom is as valuable, if not the same, as yours. and it's a hard thing to kind of grasp, but it's the idea. I mean, the idea behind it is this, yeah. Tomorrow, the law for beating people up and taking their money is removed, okay? You can quite legally, in the legal sense, go out and beat the crap out of someone and take all this stuff. Now, you have to ask yourself, are you going to go out and do that? If not, then it just shows that anarchy is a self-fulfilling society. Unfortunately, it's not one that exists. Okay, so if you consider yourself an anarchist, now I'm not meaning the guy, you know, the 30-year-old who wears a big black T-shirt with an A on it, who lives in his parents' basement, kind of thing, and not riling against every kind of thing that the government does, and being conspiracy theorists and stuff. There are some theories that are fairly true. Every conspiracy theory has a grain of truth in it, and often more so than we actually care to admit in some cases. And the governments are probably the biggest mass murderers on the face of the planet. I mean, let's face it, they send young soldiers and stuff to far corners of the earth to die on soils and in the dust of foreign lands, never to be to see their families again, and for very little in terms of protection. It's no longer about protection, it's about force and power. But it's food for thought, really. And I'm not exactly I call myself a pacifist in a certain manner of speaking, because I'm not one that goes looking for trouble until you come looking for it. But yeah, I think if everyone lived like that and minded their own business, you'd be surprised how many anarchists you already know out there. They just don't know that they are. And it's not to say that you can't. It's hard to live the complete anarchist dream, really, isn't it? I mean, you can't really live within the society and not be part of it. You can't just say fuck you to all the laws that exist. Yeah, it'd be great to be able to do that, but you're going to end up inside in like 2 minutes flat if that's the case. You can't just stick your fingers up at the whole world and just exist in like some separate entity of modern day society. You have to be part of it, because as human beings we feel the need to share it, to be part of one another, be part of society. So you have to kind of exist within an operating system. But it doesn't mean you have to make it easy for them. I mean, let's face it. If you're most of my life I've paid tons and tons of tax. Yeah. Now, I'm not likely to see this in any form of retirement or anything like that, because I don't think it's gonna. By the time we get to that point where I'm old enough to be reclaiming it, it's going to be funneled off into something else, because the debt crisis which slowly encroaches upon the world is not only in America, pretty much everywhere else, because everywhere is connected in some form, shape or another. Everyone's going to be funneling off to something else. The retirement age is going to get pushed up. So when I go and claim benefits for any such thing, then I'm just basically getting back what I've been that's been taken off me to start off with, really, hasn't it? I mean, it's hard to conceive a notion of stealing from thieves, really, isn't it? I mean, if somebody takes from you and you take back what is yours, and then be told to be grateful about it as well, which is a thrill kicker. Here, I've taken your money, now I'm going to give it back to you, and what do you say? Thank you. Yeah, fuck you. But we got to work the system. We got to work and roll with the punches and be not be stupid about it. Yeah, I mean, we'd all like to throw fucking rocks at politicians and smash shit up some days. I mean, the fucking idiots in charge. Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous, the stuff that they kind of put the populace through. So what do? You do what you have to do to get by. You survive. You grit your teeth and you carry on. there's nothing else much you can do, really, is there? So, anyway, my thought of the day, anarchism.